Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, June 7th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I will be joined by Mr. Jonah Booker in just a moment. We've got a fun show for you. I posed this question. I don't even know the answer myself. I don't know what I'm going to say. I think I know what I'm going to say now, but what is the most improved position group for Ohio State from last season to this season? And you can make a salient argument, in my opinion, on various position groups. I'm curious. We're going to kick it to Jonah first. J-Book's going to give his take on the most improved. I'll give my take, and then we'll hear from you guys. And, I'm also going to give some arguments to some of the other ones that I am not going to pick as the most improved. But you could, again, make a very strong argument that certain groups are the most improved. I just love that this is a stacked roster we're talking about. And I also love that we're talking about factor meals and a great deal you guys can get. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. So head to factormeals.com/bucknuts50. Use code bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code bucknuts50 at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Great deal there. And the food's really good. 50% off and then 20% off on top of that. Take advantage. All right, here we go. Oh, baby, I always love our Friday shows. Oh, I'm curious to get your take, Mr. Booker, on this one. All right, most improved position group for the Buckeyes from last year to this year. What do you think?
I'm going with the linebackers. Let me break it down for you, Dave. Not to disparage, the kids that left and Tommy and Steele. But when you look at where they were at towards the end of the season, they were Jags, just a guy. I mean, you got Cody Simon coming back. Theoretically, you think that with him getting more reps, he's going to be better. Tommy was so hurt, Dave, towards that end of the season. I mean, both years, 2 thumbs and then the elbow and then everything that was going on with him. So he was a shell of himself. Now you're going to have Steele out of there. I thought Steele, he started losing reps at the end of the season to Cody Simon. Steele looked like he was stuck in the mud with his feet. He was barely even moving. I mean, I remember vaguely when the Maryland quarterback juked him out of his pants. Now you look at what you have at the linebacker position, Dave. You have a CJ Hicks, who they're saying is ready, who's going to make a big impact. So if we're to take their word on it, that's going to be a huge upgrade with the athleticism at the position. What did Ryan Day say? Arvell Reese has been an absolute stud. So you're getting a much more mature Arvell Reese, who's been in their strength and conditioning program an extra year. Ryan Day's calling him out, saying that he's been an absolute unit. You move Sonny Styles down. Now you look at Sonny Styles. He hasn't played the linebacker position before, but if you're looking at the athleticism, do you think Sonny's going to be a major upgrade over Tommy and Steele? The things that you can do with Sonny on the field, I would say 100% absolutely. Because now that you got Sonny, you can do so many different things out there, especially with the new 9 package that they're working on. Now you also have Gabe Powers. You're banking that Gabe Powers, a year addition into the program, he's going to be much better. So overall, I'm looking at the 5 linebackers that they have currently and say, this is going to be a much better group than what we witnessed last year. I mean, at that point, there shouldn't have been a reason why CJ Hicks wasn't ready to play. I just find it odd that all of a sudden now, after Tommy and Steele leave, they're telling us that CJ Hicks is ready to go. He's ready to bust out. Jim Knowles said that last summer. CJ Hicks was ready to make a big impact, and we didn't see that. Now that we come out of the spring ball, CJ's running with the ones. All reports are he's been looking like an absolute stud there. So you're going to bank that CJ Hicks some way, somehow will see the field. And if he does see the field, I think that his ability is going to be a major upgrade over what we witnessed over the last year or two.
I like it. I like it. You surprised me a little bit, and you made a strong argument. I'm telling you, you can make an argument with a lot of them. Okay, so here's the thing.
What you got, Dave? What you got?
You're going to say this is wishful thinking, but I'm going to go with the offensive line. Here's why.
Okay.
They struggled. I mean, the Cotton Bowl was just take that out of the mix. That was just a disaster. But it took them a while to get going last year, and they never really all the way came together. But this year, and they had 3 new starters last year, 3 first-year starters last year. This year, 0 first-year starters. I think Josh Simmons now is a third-year starter. I think he's going to come in ready to roll. I think he's going to be good from day one. It's not going to take him till game 8 to be comfortable. He's going to be ready to go. Again, a third-year starter. You got a 3-year starter in Donovan Jackson, who, frankly, I've been disappointed in. He's a 5-star. He has not played up to that level, but now he'll be a third-year starter as a senior. I'm bullish on him. Seth McLaughlin, the one question I had about him was his snapping. I didn't see him miss any snaps during spring. I think he was a sneaky good get in the transfer portal, and that allows them now to put Carson Hinsman. And by the way, McLaughlin will be a 3-year starter. You're seeing a theme here. All 3 of those guys are 3-year starters. And then the other 2 guys are going to be second-year starters. Now, first year at right guard for Hinsman, but having that whole year starting, he redshirted. Then he started every game. Not every game because of the Cotton Bowl, the secret suspension that they said, he had snapping issues in practice. No, he said a little bit too much on a podcast. Let's be real. But I like that Hinsman has a full year of starting experience under his belt. He's now stronger and bigger entering his 3rd year, and he's now over at right guard. And then Josh Fryer struggled last year, I thought, for much of the year, but also had some decent moments. And I think now as a 5th-year senior with the offseason he's had, I think he's going to be improved. 2nd-year starter. So, again, man, maybe wishful thinking, but I'm going to go with the offensive line. I'm going to say one more thing because I was put on the spot. I was asked this question without giving any heads up yesterday. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? This is crazy because last year the secondary was so good. I off the top of my head, I went with secondary. Here's why. So, all these guys came back, right? So, Burke came back. Hancock came back. Ransom came back. I don't know where they would have been drafted. They all would have been drafted. I think Burke would have been no worse than a 2nd-round pick. I don't know about Hancock and Ransom, especially with Lathan coming off the injury. Okay, so all those 3 guys came back. They were very good last year. You got to think they're going to be even better this year, right? Yeah. I thought Igbinosun was really good last year, Jay Book. Really good. You got to think as a junior, he's going to be even better. Then you bring in the number 1 player in the transfer portal in Caleb Downs. So you replace Josh Proctor, who I thought actually had a pretty good year as a 6th-year senior. It's nothing against him,
He did.
Dude, you bring in Caleb Downs. So I made that argument, man, as good as the secondary was, it's gone from good to great to super elite. So you could even make an argument for the secondary. You made an argument for the linebackers. I picked the offensive line. And there's some more position groups I want to talk about. Who's maybe your second place, sir?
The second place, before I go into my second place, though, and you mentioned the offensive line, I do agree with you, but you also have to weigh in that Chip Kelly being involved with the program. That's going to be a major upgrade for them with his scheme. He's going to be able to really get the most out of that. I truly believe with Chip, Drevno, who they brought over as an analyst, I think they're going to be able to squeeze as much juice out of that offensive line. And the one thing that you mentioned, which is crazy to me, Dave, is you said Josh Fryer struggled. The ironic thing is Josh Fryer made all Big Ten. People forget about that. If Josh Fryer, yes, he definitely needs to get better. But if Josh Fryer would have hit the open market as an all Big Ten offensive lineman, every school in the country would have lined up and would have been throwing massive NIL offers at him. The fact that you can get an all Big Ten offensive lineman with that much starting experience from Ohio State. So we're banking that he's going to be better. My second group was the quarterbacks, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it. I mean, So you're hoping that a healthy Devin Brown is going to be a lot better than what he was last year. You think Lincoln Keenhost coming in off short notice, he was a late arrival from the Dakotas. He now has a full year, has 1 game of experience under his belt. He's should be ingrained into the playbook right now. He's much bigger than what he was after being in the strength and conditioning program. So you're thinking that he's going to be better. Now I'll get to the big one soon, but you add in Julian Sand, you add in Aaron Nolan. Are you looking at those guys and says, will those guys make your quarterback room better? 100%, because the fact that you have a guy, a 5-star in Julian Sand, who's pushing those upperclassmen, that right there tells you that bottom half of that room is so much better than last year. Now, the big debate, is Will Howard an upgrade over Kyle McCord? I personally, some people may disagree with me. I personally say 100% Will Howard will be an upgrade. Yes. Will he be, will he be a Justin Fields type when it comes to the impact? Probably not, but I see him as a much better football player than Kyle McCord. When you look at the 2 games, throwing wise, are they similar? I say they're probably a little similar. But when it comes to being able to make things happen, I think Will Howard has a little bit more grit to it. I mean, the fact that Kyle McCord was sitting there stone cold in that Michigan game, you're about to get the football back to go win the game, to go to the playoffs. Your defense got you. They got to stop. They got you the ball back. Now it's time to go make a play. And this guy's over there sipping on water. Just give me a quarterback who's going to stand up, rally that offense, and say, let's go. Let's go. This is our time to take it to these boys, get out of here in Ann Arbor with a win. Instead, we had a quarterback who was just chilling, just cool as ice. But I do think that with Devin Brown, if given the opportunity, the fair opportunity, and I take it, he's going to get plenty of reps. I think that he's going to be a much better version of himself when the season comes around. That is contingent on if he can stay healthy. That's been the biggest thing with Devin. Can he stay healthy? And if he is healthy, 100% that quarterback room is going to be a major upgrade over what we witnessed last year.
Another position group you could make an argument for, and I'm about to. I believe we had somebody in the chat. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Rick Montoya. Rick's saying running back is the most improved because you get Judkins in, the best running back in the portal. And then you get, James Peoples as a true freshman. And so you get TreVeyon Henderson back. And again, using what I was saying with the secondary, it's reasonable to assume he'll be better this year. And hopefully with Judkins around, maybe Trey can get through a season relatively healthy. So, you lose Mayan, you lose, Dallin Hayden, but, you replace them with Judkins and now senior TreVeyon Henderson, hopefully healthy TreVeyon Henderson. Not a lot of depth there. Only four scholarship running backs. They got a really good walk-on in TC Caffey, though. You could make the argument running back's the most improved.
They're very top-heavy at the running back position, but I would much rather have this running back room than what we witnessed last year. This is the once in a generation. Unless you develop guys in your program that stay there and they turn out to be Trey and they turn out to be a Judkins type running back. And that's very hard to do, to develop 2 guys to get to that type of level in your room. We better appreciate what we're going to witness this season because you're bringing in the best running back in the SEC to put him with a TreVeyon Henderson. By the way, did you see Henderson in those pictures? He's slimmed down, man.
Yep, and still looks
right.
Absolutely, like he doesn't miss a day in the weight room. But yeah, he has slimmed down. I like that
because he slimmed down this year. Because when you saw TreVeyon Henderson get a crease in that open field last year, he looked like he got shot out of a cannon. Now you get a TreVeyon Henderson who slimmed down. He looked like he is going to be on an absolute tear this year. And the great thing about it, Dave, is when you bring in a uber talented guy who was the best running back in the SEC and Judkins, what does that do to a guy like TreVeyon Henderson? It pushes him, Dave. It pushes him because if do you think and this is a question for you. Do you think TreVeyon Henderson would be pushed as hard if Dallin Hayden was still here?
No, of course not.
Right.
Of course not. Yeah.
Right. So when you bring in a talent like Judkins, who is a war daddy that's played a lot of big snaps in the SEC, you bring him in and pair those two, they're just going to feed off each other. They should be the best 1-2 punch that we've probably seen in Ohio State history. And I know you and I, and that's not hyperbole, you and I have went back on previous shows to try to compare which, running back tandems in Ohio State history would probably compare to this. And we talked about, Beanie and Boone and who was it? Pittman.
Beanie and Pittman, Beanie and Boom, and then we got to go all the way back before even my time, let alone before your time. You go back before my time, you're going. You're going. I'm pretty old, but like some people will correct us in the chat. Hey, don't forget about Archie and Pete. Oh yeah, right. God, I felt stupid about that. So yeah, Archie and Pete. I guess Tim Spencer and young Keith Byers.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how much true freshman Keith Byers played in '82. He played. Then he took over as a sophomore in '83 and was great. You're right, man. This is unbelievable. And Pete and Archie, it was just a different time. Pete was the big fullback. That's why people look at Archie's stats. Like, how come Archie didn't have more rushing stats? Because Pete would get like 30 rushing touchdowns a year. He was the fullback and Archie was the tailback. Modern day, though, man, I don't think anything compares to this. Because even with, let's say, Pittman and Beanie, Pittman was still the guy that year. That was his junior year. Beanie had some fumbling issues, like balled out in the Michigan game as a true freshman. And then his sophomore and junior years where Beanie put up the stats, especially his sophomore year. These are two guys that are going to be going over 3,000 yards rushing in their career. Each of them will go over 3,000 yards rushing in their career early this season, presuming they stay healthy. It's insane. Yeah. It's insane.
Right. And you look at these two guys and you say, okay, if Trey gets hurt, because he has, to be fair, he has had an injury history. Let's say Trey gets nicked up. You still feel 100% confident that there will not be a step back in the rushing attack with Judkins, because you think, okay, Judkins is more than capable to carry the load, and then James Peoples is going to be a quality freshman who can be the actual backup. I think we're also going to see an acceleration of James Peoples' development. And the reason I say that, Dave, is because coming into the season, when you initially looked at it, you're like, okay, here's a guy, James People, really talented freshman, but he's a freshman. When you start to hear Ryan Day talk about their plan and James People, he keeps mentioning the length of the season, the grind is going to take to get to the playoffs. You look at these first 4 games of the season, with Marshall, Michigan State, Western, Michigan, those Akron, those are going to be blowouts. You're a 50-point favorite against Akron. Theoretically, there should be no reason why Judkins and Henderson are getting any snaps in the second half against Akron. That's James Peoples' times. You cannot replicate live game reps just in running with the scout team. So him getting in front of a live crowd, going against live bullets, that's going to accelerate his learning curve. So come November, Dave, theoretically, James Peoples should have, give or take at least 100 carries before you're getting into that Michigan game. He should have about 100 carries. Then you probably going to throw some in there to Sam Williams-Dixon, who's going to get some carries. And I like him too, Dave. I think Sam Williams-Dixon is going to be an absolute stud. So once you get to November, now you can look at it and say, okay, I got 2 absolute bona fide superstars at the running back, but the ace of spade in my back pocket is I got a more than capable James People who has had plenty of reps throughout the season that you feel comfortable with. And with this offensive line, we're expecting the offensive line to be a lot better. You're thinking, okay, James People, he's the future. Now you start talking about, okay, what's coming up in the pipeline next? Bo Jackson. We're going to talk recruiting. We can segue to that. You got Bo Jackson who committed. And then you got, 2 other running backs that they're hot after that they think they're going to probably take 3 this class.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to help. Yeah, we'll finish the show talking recruiting, my friends. I love that they got Bo Jackson. Been talking about that all week. I absolutely, I felt that it was going to happen last Friday, but I'm glad it's now official. Absolutely love that they landed Bo Jackson. And I think another thing that's going to help this running attack is like defenses the last few years knew Ohio State, even if they faked the handoff, they knew there was no way the quarterback was keeping the ball, unless it was play action. There's no way the quarterback was keeping the ball on his own. So they could just key on the running backs. Good luck doing that this year. Will Howard will keep it. He'll keep it. It's not like he's going to be – I'm not acting like he's going to be Josh Allen out there. He's not. But he's like, he's an effective, willing runner. So and he's been durable too. I think Devin Brown could be like, again, he's not that explosive. But I think Devin Brown, his toughness – and his willingness, I think he could be an effective runner. He's just his durability just was awful last year. So including in the spring, people don't forget he missed the spring game the previous year because he was hurt. So yeah, man, we'll finish talking some. I'm glad you brought up quarterback could be arguably the most improved on the team.
Well, yeah,
Will Howard's going to be definitely. I'm with you, man. Yeah,
and Will Howard, he said that I didn't come here to be just a primary runner. That's not. He's going to run the football regardless of what he says. That's part of Chip Kelly's, kind of the RPO. You don't. And during the coaching clinic that they have for the high school coaches, when Chip Kelly was up there, and pretty much he was, preaching up there so long that the lights were getting to be turned out in the facility. But when it was coming at you, like utilizing who was doing the, his RPO and the footwork and everything as far as the quarterbacks, he was highlighting Will Howard, saying, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is the correct way. And he was highlighting Will Howard in practice to the high school coaches. Now, you said that as far as making them pay, if Ohio State, let me ask you this, Dave. Do you think Will Howard will hit maybe 300-400 yards rushing? 4 or 5, because you talk about with that big body utilizing him, because they struggled in the red zone. So I think Will Howard game in the red zone, that's where you're going to see an elevation in quarterback play. Can you utilize that big body and legs in the red zone? And I was going to say, if you think that he's going to go over 300 to 400 yards rushing on the season, that right there is going to be a major upgrade over Kyle McCord. That right there is going to also help your offensive line play, because that means they're getting a hat on a hat, and defenses are going to have to account for a guy who's able to pull it 300 to 400 yards. That keeps the defenses honest, Dave.
And I love when quarterbacks get in deep. It's the worst thing for like you play defense. You guys hated this. It's a backbreaker for defense, as we all know in football. You got the offense stopped. They're getting ready to put their punt team on the field. Looks like you're sacking the quarterback on third down. He gets out of there, and he picks up a cheap first down. Boom. And a lot of times that'll then lead to points for the offense. It's a huge momentum change. And football, as a lot of sports are, is a sport of momentum. That's going to be huge, both the called cue runs and when he can improvise. And not just improvise, but like he's a big boy. I'm not saying he's Roethlisberger. One thing I hated about Roethlisberger, the Steeler fans loved, was it looks like he'd have Roethlisberger sacked dead to rights, and he'd get out of there somehow. He then would throw it down the field. But Howard can do both. He can throw it. He doesn't have Roethlisberger's arm or anything like that, but he can throw it, and then he can run. So I think with his ability to pick up those cheap first downs and the called quarterback runs, that's going to be huge. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. All right. Before we get to recruiting, I want you guys know about Omaha Steaks and a great deal you guys can get. You guys know I love Omaha Steaks. They've got all these deals for Father's Day. Okay, Father's Day is almost here. We're talking next Sunday, so get on this. Are you struggling to find the perfect gift for the man who has everything? Well, the solution is simple. Give him the unforgettable experience of Omaha Steaks, because a world-class dad deserves a world-class steak. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face with hand-selected gift packages starting at just $99. And when you use promo code Bucknuts at checkout, you'll receive $10 off your order. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. Endless flavor, endless variety, and endless value. Truly, they have perfected more steak, and your dad is guaranteed to love every bite. Pick from premium proteins like the juicy pork chops, air-chilled chicken, and beefy burgers, and of course, all of their different steaks. Make this Father's Day unforgettable with Omaha Steaks. Go to omahasteaks.com. Order delicious gift packages starting at $99. Use code Bucknuts at checkout to get $10 off your order. Satisfaction is guaranteed. There you go. I'd throw in some of their seasoning too, like I've been telling you guys, the Omaha Steak seasoning. Toss that in there as well. All right, let's toss in some recruiting. So much to talk about. We talked a little bit about Bo Jackson. We can talk about more about that if you'd like to. Big offensive lineman Jackson Lloyd is going to be making an official visit. He named his final 6 yesterday. Jay, but for those who don't know, Jackson Lloyd from California, number 16 offensive tackle in the country. Big boy, 6'7", 290. His final 6, Jay Book: Bama, Ohio State, USC, Stanford, Oregon, and Tennessee. 0 crystal ball picks in for him for anybody. Ohio State also had a couple of one-day camps this week. Bo Jackson committed, which was fantastic. What's on your mind recruiting wise?
7 offers went out from camp. I thought that was pretty cool. Some local kids. Brian Hartline's targeted another wide receiver who's not on anybody's radar right now, and you better believe he'll be a top 100 player once his time comes. When Brian Hartline offers an Ohio wide receiver this early in the game, he's an absolute stud. Coach Lachlan, Dave. I want to talk about Coach Lachlan and Bo Jackson. So all the reports are when Tony Alford left, he favored Marquise Davis over Bo Jackson. That opened the door for Georgia to come in. And at one point, a couple weeks ago, it looked like Bo Jackson was probably headed to Georgia. Coach Lachlan comes in and hawked them boys down like he got the baton on the last leg of a 4x1 relay. So I give him a ton of credit for being able to come in here, identify Bo Jackson as a primary running back for this squad. And he did what he needed to do. He walked them boys down in Georgia and secured a commitment from Bo Jackson. Now you're sitting in a sweet spot because Isaiah West is coming up for his official visit. He's probably a kid that should be on a commitment watch. He was, previously committed to Kentucky out of what's the high school that Marvin and them went to? Same high school as Marvin Harrison.
St. Joseph's Prep in Philly. St. Joe's.
St. Joe's. Same high school as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyle McCord, all of those guys, as well as the safety that transferred in from South Carolina. He's from that same high school. But you have to feel really good about where Coach Locke has them sitting. They said they're going to take 3 running backs. Now, if Isaiah West pulls the trigger and he commits before Jordan Davison makes his decision, now there's going to be, a battle there because Davison can easily go to Oregon. But you've seen a lot of the offers that come out onto the table as far as the running backs. So I think Coach Locke has a couple other kids to keep an eye on. I know one of the American Heritage running backs out of Florida, he was recruiting him at Oregon. Could he be the 3rd running back? But I think Fahim coming in for his official visit, Dave, this week, I think that's going to be one that you have to Fahim Delane. He's going to be one that Ohio State has to really hit it out the park. In a perfect world, you would hope that you get Trey McNutt and Fahim Delane out of Maryland as your next safeties to go with Cody Haddad. So I think that's going to be the big one that I keep an eye on, Dave. But at official visits, you look at them, it seemed like all the kids had a really good visit.
Yes.
Everybody was raving about how good it was. Like even DeCoria Moore's mom, her words. And I think Ohio State's doing a really good job recruiting the 5-star wide receiver, DeCoria Moore's mom, because this is their 2nd visit within the last 4 weeks.
And they brought 5 family members up with them. Yeah.
So he came up with his mom on an unofficial visit. And I thought it was brilliant what Ohio State was selling. They sold to the mom the mental health aspect of Ohio State. They showed the mom, this is how we take care of our kids off the field. We'll talk to you more about on the field stuff. Yes, this is a product that's going to be able to get you into the NFL. And then when they got on the visit, they talked to the mom and said, big picture. You look at Oregon, you look at Texas. Those are the teams that Ohio State is battling for DeCoria Moore. none of them can hold a candle to what Ohio State has done development-wise with getting guys into the first round of the NFL draft. So their pitch to him was, think big picture, think overall, to say, hey, this is a place that's going to take care of you off the field, which they were able to really sell to mom. And then they start to really get knee deep into what we can do for you on the field. The mom said Ohio State is going to be tough to beat. I'm going to take her words on it. And then the other one is local in-state Justin Hill, who I think he's going to be a must get. It was selling him on the jack position on how he's going to be utilized, especially with Alabama, Oregon running more of a defensive front that fits his skill set, which he believes he's a hybrid type of guy. So having Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson on the same page together to sell him, this is how we're going to utilize you in that defense. That's a really good sign, because what's one of the biggest gripes, Dave, that we talked about? Larry Johnson, Jim Knowles, not always seeing eye to eye on how the defense should be run, how the front should be looked. They got together, hit a 1-2 punch on Justin Hill. Now you talk about an in-state kid out of Cincinnati who is a bona fide stud that they probably are going to land. I think the Buckeyes are a team to beat for sure in that recruitment.
And we'll see how it turns out, but just the way they're approaching recruiting, as you just illustrated, it's almost I would go as far as to say it's like textbook recruiting. Like if you were trying to teach someone, teach a program how to recruit, use the Dak Moore example, the Corian Moore example. This is a young man from Texas. They're hitting all of the right notes here.
Yeah.
Okay, they're selling, the mental health aspect, as you said, where else would a top wide receiver really want to play than Ohio State if your goal is to get to the NFL and be taken care of off the field like they're talking about? It's like they're doing everything perfect. And and this is a kid from Texas who they pretty much lead for. It's pretty incredible. I was saying on the show on Wednesday with Bax, it reminds me a lot of 2017 when Buckeyes went into Texas. Like, we'll take him, we'll take Baron Browning, we'll take Jeff Okudah, we'll take J.K. Dobbins, and you will like it. We're going to take all the best players in Texas. I absolutely love it, man.
Yeah. Well, I got one more for you, Dave.
One more. All right. Yep.
I think shout out to Brian Hartline and the foundation. Them boys are moving. They are moving.
Brian Schottenstein.
Brian Schottenstein. Sorry, Brian Schottenstein and Cardell and the foundation. The way that they're operating, because you see Vernell Brown, Florida has allowed NIL opportunities for high school kids. Vernell Brown is one of the top wide receivers on the board. He comes up for a visit to Ohio State for his official visit this week. What do you see, Dave? You see an advertisement for him in Africa, American Eagle apparel.
American Eagle, right.
Who's the biggest backer for Ohio State NIL, whose brother is a chairman on their board? The Schottensteins. The American Eagle is a huge supporter of Ohio State. JJ Smith, he has his campaign that's getting ready to come out. So the fact that they're able to slide that in there and get this kid an American Eagle NIL deal, now it could be just coincidence, Dave. It could be coincidence, but I find it very, amusing that Vernell Brown from Florida comes up here, gets his American Eagle deal the week of his official visit, and then as he leaves, the campaign is launched. Boy, you operating with the big boys now. That's right there. That's that player move, Dave. That's how they operate in the South. But the foundation, them boys are moving. They cooking. I mean, they got the beer coming out in a couple of weeks. I talked to Brian about this. They got the beer coming out. They got the vodka sales. The Columbus local business, they are stepping up big time. You got the reoccurring donation as well. And then on top of that, they just announced they're trying to open up more charters in the major cities where alumni can get together for the foundation and try to raise more money. They got the 50-50 raffle that's going to be starting in the fall. And just talking to Brian, they have had a really, really successful first 6 months of the year as far as raising funds. So that's only going to pick up with everything that they have on the table. So hey, kudos to you guys. They're moving in some big boy ways right now. So I love everything that they're doing. So I have to give them their props right now. Even though the NIL is still going to be on the table with everything starting to come in house, you have to recognize the good work that those guys, Brian and Cardell, those guys are doing. And then everybody mentioned Jamie French as well. He got his deal. He's been crystal ball. A lot of people think that he's headed to Texas there. The longer that this drags out, that he doesn't commit there and he makes that official visit to Ohio State. The only thing that I have to say about French, though, Dave, is would the Buckeyes fill up at the wide receiver position before he makes his decision? Because he's saying that he wants to take a visit in the fall to the Buckeyes. Will they have room for him? That's my only question. But the way they're operating, great job, fellas.
Unbelievable. It's funny. Like, last thing I'll say is, like, yeah, when I saw like they got those deals with American Eagle, I was like, wait a minute, is American Eagle a Columbus company? So I looked it up real quick. I'm like, oh, it's a Pittsburgh company. But I looked a little further down. It said CEO/chairman Jay Schottenstein, and I just had a big smile on my face at that point. I think I know what's happening here.
But it's brilliant, Dave. It's actually a very brilliant move, and you haven't seen it from any other program. It's like, oh, Florida, we recruit Florida hard. We have a Florida chapter down there in South Florida, right in those kids' backyard. Oh, you like Ohio State? Oh, you're part of the South Florida Express 7-on-17. Let's talk. Let's talk. I might have something for you. You coming up here on the visit? When you come up here on the visit, we're gonna make sure that it's a visit that you really, really enjoy, that you go back and tell all your friends back in Florida, this is how the Buckeyes are moving and grooving up here in the North right now. So I love the way that they're doing it. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant move.
Yeah, good job. Good job, as always, by you. I'm glad you gave the shout out to the Schottensteins and the foundation, just doing bang up work. They got everybody to come back. 1870 Society also doing a good job. Like, it's just, as Rick just said here, Buckeyes are cutting edge on NIL, and I absolutely love it. All right. Great stuff, as always, from the great Jonah Booker. Thank you very much, Jay Book. Thanks to all of you. We had a very big audience today. Appreciate that. Thanks again to Jay Book. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend.